Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel where we are once again going through some painting for the Everqueen because she is gorgeous, she's beautiful. I'm really proud of the way she's coming out. I know this is like part 4. I will just let you know that I have another 7 art streams to sorry, Loki's getting involved, give me one moment. So yes, I have 7 art streams left to edit together for this, and she's not even finished. I've really struggled to paint her this year. Originally, as I've been editing these videos down, because each of these streams is about 2 to 2.5 hours long for me painting her, she takes... I end up painting other minis at the same time while ink's drying and paint layers are drying and all that kind of thing. And we used to say that I had to do 2 things per stream, finish one part of the Everqueen and another mini, because at the same time I'm painting tabletop ready miniatures. I could go into that, but this is not what we're here for. We're here for the Everqueen. And once again, I would like to thank my Patreon Lloyd for requesting this video. He said that he has been absolutely loving watching me paint this lady, and he does miss me doing these streams. They're just a bit harder to do. They take quite a bit more energy, and this year I don't know why. I've just been struggling. Probably to do with the health issues that if you've been watching any of my other videos you understand, but that's not the point. Let's dive back into painting the Everqueen, shall we? So last time we got up to the point where we were talking about the grove of the Everqueen. Within the forest of Allarielle resides a woven archway of green wood, the sap running along newly formed shoots like glistening amber. Here, the smell of growth and fecund life is almost overpowering, and the scent of life resurgence is a powerful taste in the back of one's throat. This archway, however, is a portal to a place where not even the handmaidens of the Everqueen can go, for she needs no protection of blades. Rather, the only lives that are at risk are those who enter and follow the path. Beyond the archway exists a verdant grove of dazzling light whose brilliance is so blinding that every step made is without knowledge of where it might lead. Only when a powerful sensation of having reached one's destination sweeps over them are they forced to stop. The veil of light withdraws and eyes blink into the sudden rush of colours. Everywhere one looks, new blossoms seek to outdo one another with the brilliance of their hue. Shimmering roses of glittering ebony weave around tree trunks garlanded with flowers even high elf nobles have never seen before. Plants of vivid purple, gold, white and azure grow wherever they can, whilst the sheer mass of growth is like the grandest arboretum ever devised. At the centre of it all sits the Everqueen. Not Allarielle, but the Everqueen. Clad in a shimmering robe of ice and rainbows, simultaneously robes of light and magic, and naked. She sits upon a throne of roots and grass that splits the ground beneath her and pulses with the magic that sustains it. Light surrounds the Queen of Allarielle, radiance that sheens the grove in warmth and breathes vitality into everything it touches. Her ivory flesh is sculpted and perfect, without trace of wound or scar visible through the mists of glamours that surround her. Her golden hair frames a face of such aching beauty that it can drive Azure into wanting nothing but to drop to their knees and declare their love for her. And in that moment they would have cast aside everything that they held dear just to be allowed to devote their lives to her. With an effort of will, they lift their gaze to the Everqueen's face, only to find it cold and lethal in its features. Indeed, though everything around her explodes with life, her eyes hold only the promise of death. Outwardly, the Everqueen is exactly as she normally is, yet, whilst recovering from the near-mortal wounds she has faced before, a force more powerful than any known to Azure beats within her breast. To the elves, this is old magic, perhaps the oldest in the world. The first heartbeat of creation empowers the Everqueen, the birth cry at the beginning of the cosmos, sighing from her lungs, and the power to create everything that was or could be shines in the light that bathes her. The Queen of Allarielle shifts in her living throne of roots. While she beckons a visitor forward, they can no more disobey that gesture than they can stop their own heart from beating. When she speaks, her voice is the sound of new life, and visitors can feel the years melt away from them at the sound of their name on her lips. She can even force shooting buds of new wood to erupt from the ground, writhing like fast-growing vines to wrap around the target of her Aya's wrists and pull their arms wide. The Everqueen's throne groans whenever the roots twist and bear the queen forward. When her eyes lock onto theirs, they feel the primordial energies that dance within her frail mortal body. With a touch from her glistening fingertips, she can read all the thoughts of such a guest, their secrets and memories revealed no matter how deeply suppressed they are. They cry out at her touch, feeling the enormity of her power. It burns them, their entire body feeling aflame with its surging ancient force. It hollows them, scouring their body for every memory, thought, and deed making up their life. In a heartbeat, the Everqueen knows them entirely, understanding what they love, hate, and desire. In that moment of connection, she knows them better than they know themselves. With this power, she can lay bare the misdeeds of her target, tearing away their denial and self-delusion till they are forced to admit the truth. With a snap of her fingers, she can command the restraints retreat into the ground like snakes, while at the same time shield them from the raw onslaught of someone else's magic. Such is her cold mercy that she can shunt wrongdoers from Avalon, causing them to float aloft by invisible winds, and, with the flick of her wrist, send them at a hurricane force, hurling them from the grove. Trees and branches and leaves whirl past in a blur as they spin through the forest, cast forever from Avalon. Yet in spite of all of this, the grove is neither silent nor devoid of animal life. Birds return to the trees as the Everqueen nears recovery, alongside slender deer nuzzling at the bushes at the grove's edges. Doves mingle with ravens, peacocks with kingfishers, hawks settle on the tallest branches, attended by white-plumed falcons and red-breasted warblers. Shapes creak within the heartwood of the trees, suggestions of faces and limbs formed by the groan of roots and branches. Darting light spins through the foliage, and giggling laughter echoes on the last breath of drifting zephyrs. They float through the grove in hopeful loops, gathering above the Everqueen and bathing her in their dreamlike radiance. That brightness is taken into the Everqueen's body and filling her with such brilliance that it seems as a second sun. The light spreads through the forest, suffusing every living thing it touches, travelling on the wind, the earth and the water until its power is spent. Whatever the Everqueen's light touches is never the same as it once was, and a part of their spirit is forever filled with joy and wonder. All anger and hatred ebbs away in the face of the revived Everqueen, who glides over the soft grasses of the grove and leaves only new light in her wake. There are some very notable Everqueens throughout the history of the Warhammer world. There is Allarielle, of minus 4,500 to minus 4,420 IC. She was the first wife of the first Phoenix King, Allarielle the Defender, and she is considered the first Everqueen only because she is in fact the first ever recorded to have existed by the elves. Her two children, Morlian and Yvain, would both become highly important in High Elven history. On one side, her son's family produced many great High Elven heroes, including Tyrion and Teclis, and on the other, her daughter and all of her descendants would be the next Everqueens, the spiritual leaders of the High Elves, as we've discussed before. There was Yvain from 4,419 to minus 2,198 IC, so nearly 2,000 years, gosh. Daughter of Allarielle and Allarielle, and the second Everqueen known to the elves, she ruled during the reign of the Phoenix King, Bel-Shannar the Explorer, and Kaldor I the Conqueror. Ystariel was an earlier Everqueen. A regiment of Griffin Knights wore her livery, so not really as notable as you think. Riala was the Everqueen some 5 generations prior to Allarielle the Radiant. Again, not too important, but she's named, so that means she is. Ystariel the Silver. Ystariel was the 10th Everqueen and was the mother of Allarielle the Radiant. Allarielle is the 11th and current Everqueen of Ulthuan. abilities. The denizens of Naggaroth rightfully fear the powers of the Everqueen, and their own legends are filled with terrible stories of the Fey Queen's ability to bewitch and unmake even the mightiest champions. Only Marathi and perhaps the Witch King himself do not quail in her presence. So powerful is the Everqueen that she can cleanse all mutation from a living being with but a point of her finger. Such was the case when in the thick of battle, Allarielle caused the Mount of Isil-Kul to rear in agony, but it was not the pain of some magical attack that caused it to scream. As the Chaos Lord leapt from his saddle, chestnut strands of colour wound their way around the thrashing beast's legs, like thread into a weaver's bobbin. Exposed musculature was once again clothed in flesh and skin, the colour moving upward until the warm, mahogany-coloured coat was re-knitted onto the horse's back. The raw stump of its tail grew again, and a lustrous mane of long black hair sprouted from its gleaming neck. Within moments the horse was transformed, the hideous changes wrought upon its form now undone. So did it climb to its feet, eyes wide and ears pressed against its skull as it saw the world with eyes untouched by the warped powers of chaos. The Everqueen's power to purify is not limited to living creatures. When Isil-Kul charged at her, Allarielle raised her hand palm up, causing the Chaos Lord's many-bladed sword to vanish in a haze of glittering sparks, as though remembering the fire from which it had been created. The Warlord was then forced to cast aside the hilt as it burst into flames. I'd just like to round out this video by giving you an actual quote from Allarielle the Radiant before the Battle of the Funival Plains, which is an interesting battle, but I'm not going to go into because we don't have enough time on this video. So she said, "My friends, we are gathered in a very dark time. Our enemies are mighty and our allies are few. We have suffered defeat after defeat and loss after loss. I would not blame any of you if you had lost all hope of eventual victory. Nonetheless, you have not done so. You have not given up even in the face of a foe who delights in displaying this cruelty of power. You have not admitted defeat, even in the face of overwhelming odds. You stand before me ready to fight and die for your homeland, and that makes me proud of each and every one of you." So overall, the Everqueen as a whole, this has just been a very quick discussion. This video and last video is an overall brief description of the Everqueen as a whole. So there are lots of different Everqueens, as you can probably tell. Allarielle is just the most recent. She is also possibly the most popular to the High Elves, as in the most looked after in the entirety of the histories. So as of next video, we're going to go into Allarielle herself a bit and discuss some of her history, personality, her children. Yes, she has a daughter. And that kind of thing. And we'll see how that takes us through, because I'm pretty sure we've got another couple of episodes to go on this. More than another couple of episodes. I wouldn't be surprised if this series gets to 10 episodes long with how long she's taking. As I said, I've got another 7 streams to edit down, and that's just to the point where I can actually start painting her again. So we're going to be here for a while. Once again, I would like to say thank you to my Patreon Lloyd for requesting these videos. He's been really enjoying it, and I'm really grateful that he enjoys it. So if you've enjoyed this too, even if it's just the history or any comments that you have on my painting or anything like that, as long as it's positive and actual constructive critique, please do leave it in the comments down below. I always look forward to seeing them, and I always try to drop around to your page, and if you've got some videos, I will watch one. So thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you've had fun. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.